We are live with REI Live here just to talk about Columbia specific local real estate market and what are we doing, you guys as experienced investors and Matt lender as well, to keep your businesses going. How are you changing? How are you adapting? And what do you kind of see for the future? So I'll start with just quick introductions so we all know who each other are. Sarah, you want to kick it off?
Yeah, I'm Sarah Bennett. I'm a realtor with Medley Realty. I've worked with Andrew on several of his investment properties that he's resold, and I've worked with other investors as well in terms of the resale part after they flip properties.
Great. And Todd?
Sure. Todd Lyle. I am the managing partner at Reeves & Lyle, LLC, which is a law firm here in Columbia. I'm also the broker in charge of Todd Realty Partners, also in Columbia. And I started doing real estate right after 2003, lived through the 08-09 crash, which is part of what kind of steered me towards changing careers and becoming a lawyer as well. So I kind of wear two hats, very unconventional, but been investing for 17, 18 years now, still active in that game as well.
Awesome. And then I'll go to Matt Carroll next.
Hey, I think, sorry, I broke up there a second, but just so you know, you're on your page on Facebook and not in the REI Live page. I don't know if that's what you're planning on or not.
I will share it right now. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you're not actually in the group. Yeah, I'm Matt Carroll. I've been investing in stuff since 2002. I own a bunch of rental properties and some Airbnbs, and flip houses. I've flipped just over 1,000 houses in my career since 2002. And I'm the team leader and CEO of Keller Williams Palmetto, downtown Columbia. And yeah, that's it.
All right, going across the top, I got Victor, you next.
All right, yeah, man. My name is Victor Hugie. I'm a realtor with United Real Estate. My individual company, House Hunter Realty, we just kind of do flips. I also have another company called Carolina Cash Buyers. We go around and buy land or properties. Right now we're looking at getting ready to buy some new build houses based on talking to Andrew and some things that he's doing with the company. So we're going to be looking at doing that. I've been in real estate about 6 years. Right after I got out of the Army, House Hunter Realty. We just kind of do. I have myself got another company called Carolina Cash. Yeah. So anyway, got a company, Carolina Cash Buyers. House Hunter Realty is my company. I work with United Real Estate. I deal a lot in buyers, as I was actually talking to Todd about last night.
Yeah.
So maybe more 70 buyer, 30% listings,
yep.
And everything. I have rental properties and do flips.
Yeah, so just a quick note, that's kind of why, Vic, I asked you, because I know you do a lot of buyers, and Sarah kind of does more listings and some buyers as well, of course, but you two are a little bit different, but just also really focused on the retail market. So that's why I wanted to bring you guys on. And Matt Bell, you're up.
Yeah, so kind of got a mixed bag of experience. I was a director of renovation for Conrex, which I'm sure most of the Columbia folk know. We renovated just over 6,000 homes in about 5 years. I've got an operating business, Home Buyers Network, used to be called Home Buyers Network, and is now INI Home Buyers. And we still buy and sell, I don't know, around 100 homes a year, and doing a little bit of lending as well. Easy Button Lending is our platform that we launched this last year, and it's all business purpose real estate investing lending. Hang on a second, I got my kid just going nuts, of course.
Yeah, I hear.
We are all dealing with that this week. So
yeah, that's perfect, guys. That's perfect. What I wanted to do is because some of you have lived through the 08 crisis, you call that, ups and downs, and then since then, we have a lot of experience here in Columbia, and there's a lot of people in our networks that are just getting started or never seen this, and they're looking for advice or just help. And so that's some of the things I want to talk about. So real quick, and somebody just jump in, what are you guys preparing for in this market? Like, what are you doing today to prepare for tomorrow and next week?
I've been focused a lot on virtual tours. I do, as I said earlier, I do a lot more listings. So for me, I'm very lucky that the past couple of years, I've been doing a lot of videography and social media based selling. And so I've really just been pushing more virtual tours with other agents, investors, sending emails to investors. Like I sent to Andrew today, just sending them what's been kind of sitting on the market for a long time that might be more motivated sellers for properties that might be good investment properties for you guys. But yeah, most of what I've been doing the past week has really just been focused on virtual access to both sellers and buyers. I've worked with other as well.
Matt, Carol, you guys seeing that in your brokerage too? I know KW focuses on a lot of digital.
Yeah. I mean, it's the awesome thing is being part of a 180,000 person company. The stuff that Gary Keller is putting out, I mean, he's been through, I don't know how many shifts in his career. And so he's kind of been there, done that. And so the stuff that he's putting out and the advice he's giving is pretty phenomenal. I mean, he wrote a book about it. It's called Shift. It's normally $15, but he made it $5. Like just what he does to pour into people in our market or in our world is pretty phenomenal. Like he made Shift available for $5. So we've got all of our people reading that, and you can read that from an agent perspective or an investor perspective. But I just, my main thing that I would tell people is put acorns away. Did you just hold up Shift?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got the special hardcover version. But yeah, it's what I would tell people is going into a shift. What I didn't do, I've unfortunately learned all my lessons about a shifting market the hard way from the previous shift. So what I would tell people is, learn from my bad example before, where I was really house rich but cash poor previously, and so I'm trying to hoard away as much money as I can, because what you think is a deal right now is not going to be a deal 6 months from now. I promise.
Yeah.
So, going back through that previous time, like I was like, holy cow, I can buy this for that. Let me just buy that now. And oh my God, there's another one. The next day, let me buy that too. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I was like, I got all this stuff. And then, 6 months or a year down the road, I was like, oh my gosh, if I just wouldn't have bought these things, I'd have all this money to buy these for this price. So, that's what I would tell you is buy a home run right now, but don't buy a single or double, because that single or double is not going to be worth it, because there's going to be a bunch of home runs coming.
That's right. Hey, Todd, do you have anything to add? I know you kind of had the same philosophy.
I think Matt probably just said it perfectly. He and I were, for those who don't know, Matt was the original UGG We Buy Houses guy here in Columbia, and
he looks like it.
Primarily I would say me and the business partner I had at that time, we were probably in a very small circle of people buying as many houses as we did, and just what he said, I think 2004, 2005, buying over 50 houses a year. We were very equity, cash flow and equity, two totally different things, and learned that lesson the hard way. But what Matt said, spot on. If it looks good, and by the way, I'll preface with saying just briefly, my investment strategy and my what's going on right now have significantly changed, because when the market says hot, leading up to what's going on right now, I almost would focus on the $100 price point and just remove holding costs from my analysis. Because if you dolled it up right, at my company, we always say you do 98% renovation, you get 90% of the money. So go the full 100% route on the renovation, and then you're holding on to any doubt as to whether the house will sell. That shift is just now, we're just now shifting from that. It's not, exactly what Matt said. A single or a double, might want to pass on that right now.
Yeah, exactly. So, before we get into kind of some specific stuff, Vic, what are your clients telling you right now? Are they still shopping? Are they giving up shopping and waiting? What do you think?
No, I've actually had clients, some with this time off, sitting at home, having more time, actually sending me more houses. Everybody wants to get going. They want to get approved. They're hearing about the interest rates kind of shifting. And really, it's a twofold situation. Some clients that are able to pay their own down payment, they've been benefiting from the lower interest rates.
Yeah.
But the clients that I've had, and again, just recently having this issue with Todd.
Last night.
Yeah, I had a client, she was at 3.25% interest rate. And then on Monday morning, yesterday morning, the interest rate went up to 4.75%. So you can imagine that her buying power changed over the weekend. So we were actually ready to put an offer in. I mean, pretty much ratified this thing. And as of Monday morning, South Carolina Housing, which was she was using those down payment assistance programs, they jumped their interest rates up. So I see more from the lending side, the institutional side, fear. And obviously South Carolina Housing, they're going to increase their rates because they don't know what's going on right now. The buyer side, if they're able to do conventional loan, FHA, those kind of things, VA, and have decent credit or good credit, they're going to benefit from the lower interest rates right now. And then a lot of my buyers I'm reaching back out to that have already purchased to go ahead and refinance, look into that. If they've made 6 payments, go ahead and look into refinancing. And I've had maybe 4 or 5 already get into that portal, what's called a streamlined refinance. Yeah. So they've been able to get with their lenders, get back with them and do a streamlined refinance. And it's worked out for them. So yeah. Definitely have a lot of buyers right now that for some reason are not scared. I do it. My sellers, on the other hand, they're nervous. They're calling me and saying, what's going to happen? How is this going to affect me? Is the buyer good? Let's make sure everything's fine. Are we closing on time? That kind of thing. So my sellers are more concerned than my buyers right now.
I agree with Victor. I was going to say the same thing. My buyers aren't as nervous. It's my sellers that are more nervous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
You know, let me throw something in here. Vic was touching on that's driven right now by supply and demand. That's the rates going up is actually being the genesis of that is actually the supply and demand. Meaning, these guys are getting so busy with refis that they're like, I'd rather slow it down. I'm going to pump that number up. That is not. And there's a difference, just for the listeners. There's a difference between interest rate and mortgage interest. So although the interest rate nationally has gone down, mortgage interest has not. And to Vic's point, we're actually even seeing it tick up a little bit just based on that supply demand imbalance.
Yeah, it's an artificial inflation. I mean, was it last week or the week before that rates were? I mean, we were seeing under 3 at Keller Mortgage, and all of a sudden, like Bank of America and Wells Fargo and places like that, just were like, we can't handle it anymore. We're just going to make it 4.5. Like we can't handle all the volume. We don't have enough processors. We don't have enough business. We'll just say it's 4.5, and then nobody's going to call us anymore for a little while. We'll catch up. And then you'll see every now and then it'll dip back down, and then it'll go back up. Yeah, that's just a totally artificial. That's not tracking where the rates are. If we were really looking at where the market is and where interest rates should be based on where the Fed is and everything else, they should be a lot lower. They just can't handle the volume, and they're so uncertain about the future. They're artificially making the rates higher.
Right. So that could be. I mean, that's one of our opportunities going forward is that mortgage interest rate still has room to come down. Right. And that's one of the things that I've been paying attention to is we're not at that low point in mortgage interest rates where it can't go any lower. So there's still opportunity. There's people like Victor's client that they can't buy at 4.25 or this price or whatever, but when it comes down under 4, then they're back in the ball game. So, it's tough while you're in it, but it's the fact that they are limiting the supply, what's coming through is good because for sellers, that means there's still going to be buyers out there tomorrow and the next day.
Yeah, I mean, one of the big things I would say about a shifting market like we're in is, Gary Keller says all the time that, market share that's gained in the shift is not lost, and market share that's lost in the shift is not regained. So do the activities that it's going to take to get your business situated. Like you are, do the activities now that are going to position you to when this thing, the shift is over. And it's a weird shift because it's not just a market driven shift, it's a medically driven shift, which is super weird to anything we've ever seen before. Yeah. So when the medical side of things has passed, we're going to be coming out of that shift a little bit. And you got to, when you're actually out, when you're able to go out and look at houses and you're able to go out and operate fully functionally again, you got to position yourself in a spot that you've touched your clients, you provided value for them through the process. You know, your investor clients, whoever it is, you got to stay in touch with them and touch them and do the activities that it's going to take for you to be positioned to gain market share when that happens. Because there's a ton of people who are just watching Netflix all day and not doing anything.
Yeah, exactly. If you're in if you're in the business, you can't sit back and just be comfortable. You need to be making those client calls.
Right. Yeah. Right now is the time to get your stuff right. Like get real and get right is number one in the book Shift. Get real, get right. Like get your database right, get your marketing right, get all that stuff that you haven't had time to do. Like you got some time to do it now. And so go get that stuff right so that when everything's ready to go, you're 100% good and you're ready and you're ahead of everybody else.
Yeah. Hey, Matt, Bill, I wanted to come back to you on and shift this a little bit to the investors. I actually had somebody call me this morning about an investor loan that changed on him and of course changed the rate and the fees, and it affects his ability to buy a house. What are you seeing in that realm?
Yeah, we've got 132 lenders on Easy Button Lending's platform right now, and there's definitely some people that are hitting the pause button and are in wait and see mode. We've got others that are contrarian, that are pushing forward harder. I'm more of that mindset as an operator, and I think we're getting ready to turn up our marketing, cold call, text, mailer, etc. And try to be out in front of it with a little bit different focus. But anyway, it's kind of a mixed bag, and I think you got to kind of be in wait and see mode a little bit right now, just because we don't really know how this is going to impact. Now, what I would say is a week from now, we're going to know what's happening as it relates to rent payments, as it relates to, mortgage payments. I mean, it's going to trickle top to bottom. And so, for instance, trying to get my house right, I'm sitting on a free and clear property that's been on roof stock for a little while, gotten a little bit of attention, but I for sure would rather have $50K in my bank account than a house. The good news is I've at least hedged it with rent. However, that may not work in this case. And so, about a week from now is when I'm going to start making some decisions based on what happens with some of that revenue either coming in or not. And I'm other than the marketing piece, because I still think you can be driving leads. I still think you could be chasing. But yeah, on the other side, the dispo side and the lending side, I think there's a lot of kind of wait and see right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is just my unsolicited advice. I'd make those decisions right now.
Yeah.
Because every day that you wait to make the decisions, the actual actions become harder to do. So I've learned that the hard way before, where I was like, man, I really should probably pull some cash out. I really should probably do that. I really should probably call this guy and make that happen. Let me just see how this pans out. And then all of a sudden it was like, and there was nothing doing.
Yeah.
I did stop sorry to interrupt. I did stop one of my flips in Augusta, just cold, 50% done. I just said, I'm not going to get 20K out, 30K out on any one project right now. My family is what's most important, and provided rent comes in, the world keeps moving the way it has, then I'll turn it back on and go ahead and finish it. But I'm in triage mode, just like everybody.
Yep. So, yeah, I'm just having the kind of somewhat luxury of, like I said, being a part of a network of 180,000 agents across the country and the world, and hearing what's going on in some other markets. And I mean, South Carolina is usually kind of a late adopter in most things. But like I said, this is my 5th or 6th Zoom call so far today. And, listening to what's happening in the western part of our country, I mean, there's places where, like today, Registers of Deeds office is closed in certain areas, which we haven't really seen yet. Even in some of the places that have shut down, the Register of Deeds stayed open, even if not to the public, to the employees. So e-record was still okay, and some things like that were still happening. But I mean, I can see, I don't want to be a purveyor of fear by any means. We're still doing business. We're still, taking listings. We're still selling houses. But I think we have to prepare ourselves financially for, what happens if the Register of Deed office closes for a month or 2 months? Like, do you have the ability to just last for 2 or 3 months with no business happening, and with, mortgage payments that you'll probably still have to make, and especially if you've got hard money loans or you've got things that aren't going to qualify for government assistance. If the government comes out and says, hey, government-backed loans, you don't have to make payments on them, there's going to be deferred, which they've said, but hard money loans are not affected by that. So like, you still gonna have payments to make on whatever you're flipping and whatever you're doing. So I would really look hard at making some decisions on how you're going to handle that going forward. And I'd do it quick, because it can happen overnight. Like in 2007, 8, whatever year it was.
2008.
Yeah, 2000. I've put that out of my memory entirely. I don't remember those years. I forget those years even happened.
I still got the scars, man.
Yeah, I had 2 closings that closed. So on a Friday, they closed, handed keys to the people. We were done. And back then, dry closings weren't that unusual. Like, you close on a Friday and money would show up Monday, and it happened sometimes. And so closed both of them on Friday and never got the money. Banks went out of business over the weekend. So stuff happens, and it can happen quickly. So like, I was not positioned right for that.
Hey, Todd, I wanted to jump on that just for just so you can kind of give a little bit of the overview of that. The stay on evictions and foreclosures from a lawyer's perspective.
Yeah, and that's a great point, because Matt Bell was just talking about, provided the income comes in. The Supreme Court of South Carolina issued an order last week that stayed all evictions and all foreclosure proceedings until I have to pull the order back up to look, but they basically have put a pause on all procedural steps in those possession or ownership jurisprudence matters. So what that means is, if you are a landlord and you're collecting rent from a tenant and that tenant's no longer paying, you're stopped, which is a fancy way of saying you're barred from being able to go file the initial ejectment application. So now more than ever would be the time to look at a cash for keys scenario, or some kind of a outside the box solution to trying to get that income coming back in, because many of your tenants are probably judgment proof. So this is like a huge win for them, in that they're not going to have to pay you rent. And if they got lousy credit to begin with, or they are judgment proof, then you can bring a breach of contract action. So there's still things you can do, but you're not going to be able to take possession back in a quick manner unless you can do so by consent, which would be like a cash for keys or some kind of scenario. So I would also caution anyone who's got a vacant rental right now and is reviewing applications. I mean, my deposit demands would go up. My due diligence and their verification of their employment, verification of their income, them. If they're in the service industry and you put them in your house last week, and now that restaurant closed the doors, guess what? You're sucking wind on that particular house. So until that order gets lifted, you cannot proceed. If you had an eviction that you had filed 4 weeks ago and you had a hearing coming up, I think it went into effect on March 18th. If you had a hearing on March 19th, you're tough. Sorry. So that's a real risk that you're now incurring.
What does that mean for foreclosures? So they have a stay on foreclosures, but that doesn't help a landlord, right?
Well, I mean, I guess from a cash flow standpoint, yeah, I guess it could help somebody who owns property. And I'm not going to give any legal advice on what to do with not paying your bills. But from a cash flow standpoint, if you were, as Matt described, if something happens quickly and you're in a tough spot, as a borrower, you can use that to your advantage. Well, let me rephrase. I don't want to say you can use it to your advantage. You can apply that particular law to a way that benefits you more so than in other circumstances.
Right.
Yeah, and that's why I say, like, I would be looking into getting equity lines on whatever you can get equity lines on. I'd really looking into getting credit lines just so that it's there and available. Not that you have to pull it out and start paying interest on it right away, but just having access to that extra slush is going to be crucial, I think, in this time for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because like if you wait to find out if you're going to get your rent, you're too late because you haven't gotten it, and then you're not going to get it. If it. Like me personally, I'm planning on not getting rent anymore for my houses because knowing my tenants and the attitude that they have most of the time, it's like, whoa, free rent, no evictions, I'm not paying, and then I just got to deal with it. So I'm just making those plans right now that, okay, what's it look like if I don't get rent for 2 months, 3 months, 5 months, 6 months? Am I going to be, and if not, what do I got to do to make sure I'm good? Because that could be a real situation really quick. And
Right.
If I wait until it's 2 months in and I'm like, oh man, I haven't gotten rent for 2 months, I just spent a bunch of money on mortgage payments and didn't have any rent coming in, that's too late. Because I don't know a lot of people that have 6 months worth of, if you have 50 rental houses, a couple of months worth of mortgage payments with no rent on any of them is a big deal. So,
Right.
I tell you, as of this morning, one of my tenants at my duplex did say, "Hey, how are we going to work this out? I'm laid off right now. How do we work out the late fees for next month?" The great thing is, I sell this property on Friday, so I'm glad I got this thing kind of wrapped up early because this potential buyer that's buying it may have backed out if this was earlier in the game. With this duplex, because she's going to have 2 tenants in there that are likely going to miss some payments or be late on her rent. And as of Friday, she'll be the new landlord. So I was able to kind of cash out on this one, buy it for $70 a couple years ago and sell it for $125 now. And at least I don't have to worry about the tenants in that particular property anymore. And at least have something.
I can tell you, it's nice that Vic, that guy called you, and that's kind of what we're recommending to people is if you know your tenants, and Matt, I know you got a lot of students, we have students, if you know your tenants are in that category of they're a student and they've been told not to come back to campus, or they're in the service industry, or one of the other things, airlines, something that's shut down, maybe reach out to them.
They just don't feel like paying rent because,
or they just don't like to pay rent. If you know that, reach out, get proactive, because like you said, if you don't do something today and you wait on the rent, then it's just not going to show up, and then you're behind the 8 ball. So we're trying to be proactive, get our property managers talking to people, making sure we know who, people on fixed incomes, this isn't going to affect that. But if who's affected, how do we know? Because now we have a new budget that's going to happen this month. Last month was literally our best rental collection month we'd ever had. And I don't think that's going to happen this month. It's going to be a big difference. So we did, new budget. So guys, we've had a lot of kind of scary situations. I do want to give a little bit of uplift. Like, we can't just sit back, and I think Matt, you said it, but we can't sit back on our heels. We have to work. So Sarah, I'll pose it to you. What are the opportunities that you see coming, and how are you going to kind of jump on that and capitalize, and then we'll jump around?
Well, for me personally, I've had a lot of calls from potential sellers that want to list or were planning on listing, and now they're kind of in this weird limbo because they're nervous, they're scared, they're confused. And so I've been working with all those sellers, just kind of telling them these are things that you can be doing right now to get your home ready so that when the market does pick back up, because I do believe it will, your house is going to be ready to go. I do have other people that say, well, if I list it now, is the listing going to go stale, things like that. And, unfortunately, it's one of those things where I tell them I really don't know, because we're just the market's changing every day, the situation's changing every day. But I definitely have a lot of sellers who are just right now in the waiting game, and I'm, you know, right there with them every day. Like you're talking about, like Matt was talking about, you know, continuing to work, check in with them, because I do think that it's, you know, when all the illness, medical part of this goes away, when the market picks back up, I think we are going to be very busy again in all aspects of real estate. And so I just want all of my clients, whether it's the sellers getting their properties ready or the buyers, you know, that are, you know, making sure that they have money in the bank, making sure that everybody's ready for when it does pick back up.
Mm-hmm.
Vic, how about you? You got any ideas of what you're going to do different, or what opportunities you see coming?
For me, I know you said about the positive side of it. I do a lot of, as far as videos on my personal Facebook page, my business page, and then YouTube. And what I found is, I had a buyer seminar this Saturday. Actually, the positive is it's a lot of positive in it. There are a lot of people in limbo. I see more investors, kind of like us having this panel here, being a little more cautious, and obviously sellers, because they don't want the house to go stale, as Sarah said. But buyers are like really, really still positive and amped up and energetic and ready to buy. My buyer seminar that ended up getting canceled for Saturday because it was at a facility, Richmond County facility. 40 confirmed people are still saying, hey, can we do individual instead of, I know we can't be together. Can we do individual meetings? I'm ready to buy. My credit is close. I'm already approved. These kind of things. So these people are ready to get out there and buy houses. Their energy level has not decreased. So I'm kind of feeding on that by just making
on Zoom.
Everyone said, I don't do cold calls too much, but as far as getting those calls from people calling, reaching out to me on Facebook, and a guy yesterday saw my YouTube page and reached out to me and said, hey, I want to buy. I know the market is changing, but I'm ready to be a homeowner. So these things are positive, and they make me feel good that I do have a lot of buyers out there in the market that are still ready to purchase. The listing side, it has changed. Not as many people want to list, so that's maybe the negative to the positive. But on the most part, a lot of buyers are still out there. And I do think when the market shifts, we're going to be very busy with everybody that's kind of holding off right now. We're going to have an influx of listings here in the next few months whenever it does open back up.
There's still that housing shortage that was causing the market to be as good as it was. So
right.
We'll have to see how that pans out. You know, Matt Carroll, I know you gave a lot of the warning signs. What would you say? Where's an opportunity coming out of this? Obviously, this is a tough time.
Yeah, it's funny because right when you started saying, you know, we need some uplifting stuff, I was about to jump in with, you know, all of this stuff we're talking about with evictions and foreclosures and all of that. Also, the flip side of that is it also provides a ton of opportunities for us. One thing though I tell you, Victor, is have that 40 people, get them on Zoom, have that meeting.
There you go.
Get it done. That's what we're shifting everything. Everything we're doing online, and we found that what is happening right now in our business is going to change the way that we operate forever, because we're realizing that, you know, I can have a listing consultation on Zoom. I can have a buyer consultation on Zoom. I can show somebody a house without them actually having to be there. I can do all these things and make my time much more efficient. I can have a training session for 100 people from around the country where they don't have to come to me. I can just be out there and they can all be on the call at the same time. And I can share documents instead of having to, you know, before it was, oh, can you see this? And then they're right here, this says this. And like, the platforms are amazing and they're just getting better. One opportunity I'll tell you about is buy some freaking Zoom stock.
Right? I know.
I don't know if you guys have seen what Zoom did. December, it was at 62. It was at 160 yesterday.
It's going bananas.
Yeah. But so here's the thing though, is I think there's two questions. Well, really, there's a bunch of questions about cost cutting. I would get your budgets right and shave the fat for sure. Look at each individual thing and figure out, does that make me money? And if it doesn't, it's not here anymore. Because it's easy in a time of abundance to, you know, let those budgets get a little bit out of whack. Right now is the time to be really looking at those and cutting costs. But I would say like one of the big things is how are you providing value to your people, whether that's from an agent perspective, whether that's from a client perspective, an investor perspective. Like what's your value proposition and how are you providing value to people? Because right now everybody's sitting at home trying to figure out what they're going to do, and there are some people out there working, and we're going to be going through this shift. And so it's how can I capture people that are on the fence, or like Sarah was saying earlier, like, oh, do we sell, do we not sell, I don't know. Like what's your value that's going to help get them through that process and get them to shift their mindset a little bit and get them going. And that's again, I've said it a couple of times, and it's kind of a shameless plug, I guess, but like being part of Keller Williams, like that issue that Victor and Todd are having with that closing, we have Keller Mortgage, it's a free mortgage, and they haven't been affected by the market. So the rates never, that artificial, raise like we were talking about that Matt was saying earlier, they didn't have that artificial increase because it's a mortgage company that's owned by our real estate company. And so they're not going to increase rates because that's affecting all of their deals. Yeah. So, it's a free mortgage and you get $1,000 back at closing. So one of the things that my team's been doing and that our entire office is doing is we're calling all of our agents, or all of our clients, and letting them know that rates are ridiculously low and you can go refinance for free. Like you're not even paying origination, you're not paying processing fees, you're not paying anything, and they're giving you $1,000 back at closing. So if your rate's here, all you got to do is say, yes, I want to do this. And then it just goes to here and there's not any cost involved. So just having things like that to be able to reach out to people and say, hey, like we're thinking about you in this time. Have you thought about refinancing and dropping that payment? Because bills might be getting a little bit tight. It's not things like that are things that, everybody has their own value adds. You just got to figure out what your value is so that you can be coming from contribution to your people. Because right now it's really not a time to say, hey, there's this crazy virus, but I'm telling you, you really want to buy a house, or I'm telling you, you really want to sell a house. It's really more of a, hey, like, how are you? How's your family? Is there anything that I can do for you? And by the way, like if bills are tight or money's tight, like here's this thing that we have. And just through getting in conversation with people, they're going to remember you. And when they are ready, and some of those conversations are directly going to lead to a yes, I'm ready to buy or sell, or yes, I want to get into investment and I see where the market's going. And some of them are just going to be, hey, that's awesome. My family's struggling. We need a Domino's pizza and we don't have anybody to go get it because I'm sick. And okay, cool. I would get you Domino's pizza. I'll bring you distilled water for your CPAP because you can't find it in any stores or whatever. Just anything you can do to provide value for somebody is gonna ingrain them, or going to ingrain you in their mind, and they're not going to call anybody else when it comes time for them to do business.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And hey, the one other thing I'll tell you is, who are you aligning yourself with is a huge thing. Like, do you have a coach? Do you have somebody who's been through this process before that you're aligning with? Because trying to hack through the jungle by yourself without really knowing where you're going is not a path for success in a shifting market. There's a lot of people who have been through it before and they understand what's coming and they've seen it and they understand the activities it's going to take to get through it. And so I would figure out who those people are that you can align yourself with that are going to mentor you or coach you through the process, because it's not rocket science. It happens all the time. It's just people that haven't been in it before don't realize it. And there's a lot of things like when I went through it the first time, I didn't have anybody to talk to. I was just, trying to figure it out myself, and I can do this and I can do that and I can do this. And looking back on it, I'm like, man, if I would have just done this and this and this, like if I would have thought to do this, this and this, holy cow, would my life be different right now. I just didn't have that person I was talking to. So I would say find that person, figure out who they are, and go align yourself with them and let them help you get through it.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll tell you that there's a lot of things happening. You'll see a lot of people jumping into Zoom calls, and a lot of people are now on Facebook and putting a lot of video out there and saying they can help. But I would definitely, when you're looking for a mentor or a coach or something, evaluate that. Don't, just because they're following you on Facebook, they've got their ads tuned in. Just be careful. Talk to other people. Look for somebody local if you can do it, or doing something you've done, or what you want to do. So that's a good point there, Matt. And I'll let Matt Bell give us a little bit of, is there anything that we should be as investors looking for from the lenders? Do we have a chance to get rehab loans again, or are we going to be told no? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think in all likelihood, there's going to be a portion of the population that washes out. Just like was in the case last downturn, I think there'll probably be a handful that make it. The people that generally are less in danger are the people that haven't graduated quite to that hard money level, meaning, you know, now's the time to, and talking about alignment, I mean, now's the time to refresh your efforts as it relates to private lending. You know, people that have a couple $100,000 but haven't necessarily been doing it professionally. I mean, if you have an established relationship,
trust in the stock market.
yeah, I mean, I would stay, you know, I'm in wait and see mode on the hard money world. And, you know, maybe even so on the institutional world, because I'm just not sure what kind of how the bigger players are gonna work out. But the mainstays are the people that, you know, have a, whatever it is, a couple $100,000 sitting in a money market, or in you know, an IRA or something like that they want to deploy. They want to get it out of stocks. I mean, I think that's the opportunity right now. People getting hammered for the last, whatever it is, 2-3 weeks. And I think it's just going to get worse for another 2 or 3 weeks before people really start to panic. So
those people who had 300,000 in the stock market and now have 200,000 in the stock market in IRAs, they're ready to put that somewhere else and start making some actual interest for sure.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, Matt. I mean, that's exactly what I was kind of hoping you would say, is that there's tons of opportunity. It's just different. It's not going to be as easy, maybe, but it's different. So
one thing I meant to say earlier, I got all amped up talking about aligning yourself with people and how you're providing value, and I forgot to actually get to my point of the opportunity that's out there. So with the foreclosures being stayed for a while, that's a huge opportunity. You know, I don't know who we have watching it, if it's mostly investors. There's also some real estate agents who are also investors, but there's a huge opportunity there. Also, there's just, or I'm sorry, foreclosure list out there that, I mean, we might have 2 or 3 months of no foreclosures. That's a huge list of a captive audience who all really need to sell their house. And they've just been bought an extra month, 2-3 months of house sale time. And it's also a time when banks can't foreclose, but they are sure as heck going to be looking at some short sales.
Absolutely.
Because they can't foreclose for the next month. They need to get some money out of it. And so if you can find those people and be in touch with those people, you know, they're sitting there like, oh my gosh, I just, thank God I just got an extra 2 months. I thought I was going to have to move out in a couple of weeks and I got foreclosed on. I mean, they're ripe for like a phone call to say, hey man, I can get you out of here. Let me just call the bank. I know you thought it was hopeless, but we got a couple extra months that just bought us some time for a short sale, or bought us some time to list your house, get it on the market and get it sold.
Yep.
That's a huge opportunity. And on the flip side of the leasing, no evictions, I like to talk about it much, but because I am a landlord, but for those of you who are renting or have commercial buildings, it's a huge opportunity to go back and renegotiate a little bit with the people that you're paying rent to. Like we're talking about that with the building that we're in. We don't own it yet, our big commercial building where we operate our brokerage out of. And that's something we're in active talks with our landlord about, is, you know, how can we help each other get through this? We don't want to just stop paying you or move out, but we're also operating on a tight budget, and we want to make sure that we're going to be successful and still be here 7 years from now and still paying you rent. So what if we just slash our rent in half for the next 3 months, 6 months, and we'll just tack on an extra 4 or 5 months onto the end of our lease, and we can help each other out that way, because they sure as heck don't want us moving out right now. And just like, you know, residential side of it, if you have people that are still renting a house and just trying to get into the business wholesaling, you know, it's a huge opportunity. You know, a landlord would much rather have you call them and say, hey, can I just pay you half rent for a little bit and have you not evict me or not report it, rather than just saying, hey, I'm not paying you, and then whenever this eviction thing gets back around, I'm just going to move out. I mean, as a landlord, I'd much rather have people paying me half rent than have to pay me no rent, for sure. So
exactly, that's going to be the new. There's plenty of opportunity going both ways there for negotiations. I was telling somebody yesterday, we used to pay $2 a square foot to get floors sanded. Now it's $3.50. Well, there's a middle ground there where we could still get our work done, but budgets are tighter. So it goes all the way around. It's a big circle. So be thinking of that. And you know, I think it's important for us, our company as investors, that we have contractors that you know, are expecting us to do these things, and we want to try to keep them working. And yeah, we have a tight budget, they have a tight budget. How do we keep moving forward? We can't sit back. So Todd, I'll let you finish up. We're coming on our time. We had a couple questions, but we already answered them. So I don't think there's any more. But Todd, what do you see? What opportunities or what's the silver lining in this mess right now?
Well, I have been saying for the last several years, I've been telling you, you know this, but
Yes.
get it while the getting is good, because I got it in 04, 05, 06, 07. Like Matt Carroll, I learned the hard lesson in 08, and that bled into 09. And so for the last several, in fact, when I switched careers to become a lawyer, I got back into real estate a few years after that, just because it got so hot and good, and it was what I knew and had a lot of experience doing. So I did get back into it. But for the last 3 or 4 years, I've been very cautious, very patient, very heavy on holding on to my cash, because I got hammered from the exact opposite position, 08 being heavy in equity and not in cash. But like Matt had alluded to, there is opportunities with for example, if somebody's got a decent equity spread on a rental property and their tenants are no longer paying them rent, that is a motivated seller. So if I'm holding on to my cash, I might, instead of paying 70 grand for the rental, I might be able to get it now for 50 or 60, because that landlord is now motivated because he doesn't know how to cash flow and he can't get rent payments from his tenants. And Matt already alluded to it, but short sales. If you got somebody in default right now, unfortunately, the general rule is the bigger the bank, the more of a mess it is. And that's probably true. But if you could find a more regional bank right now that's 6 months into their foreclosure process and they were not that interested in a short sale, I guarantee you, if you can get the right person on the phone, they're going to hear your request to entertain a short sale a lot differently than they would have several months ago. So you alluded to it earlier. There's opportunity in every market. You just have to figure out what the opportunity is. And so if you have people that have cash, you have people that you know that have lost money in the stock market, they want to convert it to real estate. I'm happy to talk to anyone on how I did it and what I'm doing right now, because I'm not slowing down. I've always been going kind of slow. We don't try to compete with Keller Williams. We know that they're huge and have all this market data. We're much more a boutique firm. We don't spend money to advertise. We work our networks, and we do a lot of flips and a lot of land developments and subdivisions. And, we're kind of, my real estate agent folks, we all call ourselves hunters. We like to go hunt and kill it and bring it home and eat it. So we're definitely different, but there's absolutely opportunity in this market.
Yeah, I agree. And you talked about, somebody said the foreclosures that were almost there. Well, there's opportunity that you can actually, as investors or agents, can go and help someone where it seemed completely lost. They were destitute. They were going to lose their house. Well, now they've just got some time. So you can list it. You can go in as an investor and make that short sale or just make the cash purchase. There's opportunity that we can actually help people. Your tenants, again, slash the rent if you have to, because I don't want to lose good tenants, and I work to keep them. So there's opportunity there that we can be an effect on our community for good. So last time, 08, everybody hated real estate investors. Maybe this time we can help. So it maybe, our businesses will survive and grow through it. So, I think
there's a huge opportunity there. I mean, like I have my Airbnbs are, people are canceling bookings all over the place, and I'm having to figure out how to keep my cleaning lady, alive, because it's her full-time job, and all of a sudden she just makes no money now because all those bookings got canceled. And for me, luckily I'll be okay, and it's not gonna, I need her after this. I need her to still be able to do my stuff when we get through it. So, I need to be able to figure out how to help her through that process. And I think there's going to be a lot of that we see. But Todd, if you think we're spending a bunch of money on advertising, we got to talk, buddy. KW doesn't advertise at all. We're hunters too. We're just a big group of hunters.
So, guys, I appreciate everybody jumping in on this call. I know this was hugely valuable to our community, the real estate investors, REI Live, any of your following, your agents and that sort of thing. So I appreciate you doing it. And listen, let's keep the conversation going. We have Facebook, REI Live Columbia. Go there, join it if you're not in. If you're watching this from a different page, join in the conversation, because our whole platform is working together, trying to do deals together, see how we can help each other, because rising tide lifts all ships. And I believe we could do that. Columbia is a great community for that. You know, we don't hunt and kill each other. We work together, you know, so I love that part about our investing community. So I'd love to keep this going. And if you guys have any more questions or comments, put them in the notes or the comment section on Facebook, and we'll follow up. I think I tagged everybody. If I didn't tag you guys, it's because it wasn't coming up. So go tag yourself.
Hey, one other thing I want to say real quick is be on the lookout for stuff, because deals that you haven't been used to seeing, you'll start seeing. And I've noticed that personally, that, you know, since the market's been so good, everybody and their brother and their sister want to get into real estate investing. And so there's all kinds of people who are getting into it, overpaying for stuff that, you know, I haven't been able to find the deals that I've been used to finding traditionally, because everybody's in it. And so there's a lot more competition for deals. But be on the lookout, because there's going to be a lot of people who are tightening up and backing out. And the competition in the world of real estate investing in Columbia is probably about to get thinner. So the deals will start popping back up again. And that's where you got to have that, you know, financial capability, talk to Matt, and, you know, get some hard money set up. So when those deals do come, you're ready to pull the trigger, because it'll be coming. You just got to be on the lookout for it.
All right. You guys got it. And, you know, Sarah and Vic, you guys keep working with those clients, because they need that house, and they need the other house to sell. So keep it going. Todd and Vic, I know you guys got to talk about a deal. So we'll jump off this and you guys go to that.
Yep. Still trying
If you guys want me to work on other mortgage for you on that thing, let me know and we'll get it done.
Thanks, guys.
I like that.
See ya.
All right. See you guys.
Thank you guys.
Thanks.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.